Hi. So I wanted to share with you something that happened to me last night. One of my kids, he's 19 and he lives outside of the house. He called at 3 o'clock in the morning here in Spain. And they call me a lot, but now they're calling me more because they're scared, right? I mean, the situation in Haiti is very, very difficult and well, they call me a lot now. So yes, he asked me to tell him the story that I used to tell them all when they were going to sleep. They were all in their bunk beds and they had just come out of the street and it was very, very hard to get them to sleep. So I would tell them the story of a hummingbird. So I have a tattoo of a hummingbird and they were really shocked about the tattoo. I mean, there were not many people with tattoos in the area and they were always asking me asking me about it. So I would tell them the story of the hummingbird. And yesterday, as I finished telling him the story, he said, Mom, you should really share this story with a lot of people because it has helped me, so maybe it can help others. I told him that I thought everybody knows the story of a hummingbird, but here I am. I'm going to tell you the story of the hummingbird. I'm pretty sure that it's another version because I've been adding things to the story, trying to teach values or things that I thought would be important for the children. So please, indulge me, and I hope it has kept the sense of the story. So okay, here it goes. So there was once an island with a beautiful forest and many animals that lived inside the forest that lived in peace and harmony. One day there was a storm, and after the storm, a fire started in one side of the island. And the animals that lived around the fire, they were very concerned and worried. But some animals, they came and said, you know what, don't worry because it's going to rain at some point. So we really shouldn't worry too much about it. It's going to turn off by itself, when it rains. So they did nothing and the fire kept on growing. So at one point, they called upon the other animals of the forest to come and help them. And the other animals, when they heard, some of them reacted um, in a skeptical way. They really couldn't see the fire and they couldn't smell the smoke. So they were not very sure whether or not they were exaggerating, they were being dramatic, or seeking attention. So they did nothing. Others, they were concerned and they wanted to help, but they sat down and said, listen, if we help you, you are going to be dependent on us. And at the end of the day, you need to develop the skills to be self sufficient and you should be able to take care of the fire yourself because at the end of the day, the fire is on your side of the forest. So we're helping you by not helping you. So they did nothing. Finally, there were some people that really wanted to help, but they were so scared that something would happen to them, and they had responsibilities and family, and those were the people that they really needed to help, so they did nothing either. So no one did anything, and the fire kept on growing. And at a certain point, obviously, every single animal in the forest smelled the fire, smelled the smoke. And so they made a huge meeting in which they had to make a plan and decide what they were going to do and how they were going to tackle the problem and get rid of the fire. So every single animal had an opinion. They all had an opinion on how they should, act and what they should do and what measures they should take. So the problem was that some animals thought that they were entitled of on pushing their opinion on the others as they were very powerful and their skills were very needed to turn the fire off. So for instance, the elephants, they said, you know what? We have this capacity and we have the trunk and we can throw a lot of water into the fire and in this way we will get rid of the fire. So you have to do what we tell you. The giraffe said, you know what? No, no, because we are very tall and we can see the fire from the distance and from above. So you have to do what we tell you and you have to throw the water into the places that we tell you. So they started fighting. They couldn't agree. They just simply couldn't agree. And they started blaming each other. So, for instance, the animals that they were in the area where the fire had originated, they blamed the others, and the others blamed them for not having explained properly how bad the fire was. So at one point, the lion comes along and he says, I'm the king of the forest. You're going to do what I tell you to do. But no one listens. So he roars, and still no one can hear him because the fire is so close by. And the noise of the trees burning is so high and so strong that they cannot listen to each other anymore. So, in panic, they realize that the fire has almost surrounded them. So they flee and they try to run desperately into the ocean, which is the only way to save themselves. And as they run, they see a tiny little hummingbird flying in the opposite direction with his cheeks. And they look at him and wonder what is he doing. So they see him going and coming straight into the ocean, taking a sip of water and going straight back into the fire. So they realize that the hummingbird is trying desperately to turn the fire off with tiny sips of water. So some of them laugh, finding it funny. Others find it cute, but they say, listen, you're not going to achieve anything. This is pointless. You cannot turn off the fire with tiny drops of water. So at a certain point, the lion looks at the hummingbird and says, please just stop. Tell me, what are you doing? So the hummingbird looks at the lion and says, I'm doing my part. I'm doing the best I can. And so at this point, normally, I would look at the kids that were in their bunk beds and tell them, okay, so what do you think happened? And 99% of the time, they would say that all the other animals realized that they could be doing the best that they could and they had to do their part. And so that they started doing that and that they saved the forest and saved the island. And as they grew up, we continued talking about this story and they realized that if every single animal did what they had to do, what they could do, and they did the best that they could, no matter the impact of their actions, or no matter how could their actions impact the fire, whether it was the big elephant and how much water he could throw into the water, or whether it was an ant or a hummingbird, they all had the same value because they were doing the best they could. So here's the story of AYMY, of the hummingbird. Well, I know we changed it quite a bit. I don't even remember the original version. I hope it's useful, especially this time where we all need to do our part and do the best we can. And I know it's very, very complicated. I mean, once you realize this, it's a very hard work and it's everyday work through your life, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and big kiss to everyone.